Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Stock Making. I am your host, JohnTSitek. And what we have here today is a beautiful fiddleback English stock for a full custom 1903 Springfield in 35 Whelan. This was turned from an original pattern that George Peterson actually did for Monte Kennedy on his semi-customs. So I thought we'd quickly go over this, show you some features of this rifle, and it'll be kind of an intro. We'll show you the completed project at the end, but everything is going to be basically around what Monte might have done back in the 50s, 60s, in that era, per what our customer wanted. So what you see here is a Griffin and Howell teardrop recoil pad. Here we have two diamonds inlaid in the top of the heel area. Now we had a little bark pocket here, so we thought, well, you can't throw the blank away. You can't fill it with sawdust and glue. That doesn't work. And so we decided, with the customer's permission, that we were going to put two inlays in here. But you can see the pad. And I believe that Griffin and Howell still makes these, and I think they were made or possibly being made today by Goodyear. And then going to the cheek piece side, you'll see that the design is the copy of the Monte Kennedy early design. This is the teardrop cap. This is actually East Indian buffalo horn that would be shaped similar to what Monte used to do. Now, we're not representing this as a Monte Kennedy rifle, obviously, but the customer wanted something that resembles something that Monte would do, because it's not easy to chase a legend. Anyway, you'll see the hand shaping. This is in the process of being finished. What we'll do in a minute is I'll go over the initial filling phase and the wet sanding that's done on this stock to get it to a finished product. And then here you'll see the hand inletting. This has a 26-inch barrel. On the tip here, that is an East Indian buffalo horn foreign tip. Now, this material actually came from Michael Petrov's estate. And we are fortunate to get some from a very good customer of ours who purchased the remaining stock from the estate. So it's a rare item to have. So this gives you just an overall idea, the concept of this particular rifle. So when we talk about the filling of the grain with this particular stock, because it is a very high quality piece of wood, we don't have big pores. And so on the buttstock here, this is basically two coats that have been sanded down. Now the first coat is a thinned 50-50 mixture of bar top varnish and mineral spirits, because I want it to penetrate into the wood. I'm not worried about the hand finishing phase at this point. What I want to do is fill the grain. And this will dry harder than linseed or most oils that are based on a linseed finish. And that's what I want. I want a hard finish that's impregnated into the wood. And then I'll start my sanding with 500 wet and dry. This happens to be 3M brand, but it doesn't have to be 3M. I find this a really nice grit. It has enough grit to knock down the filler coats, and it's smooth enough, as you can see, to leave a real nice finish. Now, as I progress, I'll go to 1,000, and then I'll finish up with a 1,500 grit on the final pass. But for now, what I'll give you is a quick tutorial of how I do this. I simply take a block. I always like to use a block that keeps all our square edges square, and it doesn't round off corners that I don't want rounded. And I'll just simply dip it in the finish, and I'll start my sanding with the grain, always with the grain. Just light, even strokes. Then when you get it to where you think you've reduced it down to the bare wood, I like to use a disposable paper towel, and I throw these in a metal bin that's designed for combustible materials. So you got to be careful with that. And then I just simply wipe it down. And then you'll progress using that same technique over the entire stock. This is one coat. This will probably get 3 to 4 coats of filler before the actual finishing process starts. Now on the other side, when it comes to, you'll see where the cutout is here. This is for the bolt release that was designed into the 1903. What I'll do is I'll just take a round dowel that's been wrapped in basically rubber, and I'll just dip that in the same mixture because I want to keep this transition line straight. If I use my finger on this, I'll round off this nice sharp edge that I took so much time in building in the first place. And basically it's the same technique. There's nothing magical, mystical about this. Is it a quick finish? No, it is not. Is it a good finish? Yes, it is. And same thing, once we get it to that point where we think we've taken off the finish, we simply give it a light rub, and then we continue on the process all the way around the stock. You can see here that even with 2 coats of filler, with the second coat sanded down with 1000 wet and dry, that we're getting this nice, beautiful satin sheen, which is what we're after on this project. We don't want a high gloss on this particular gun. We want a classic in the wood satin finish that shows off the beauty of the grain and just barely gives a nice soft glow. So I hope that helps you in your finishing process. No matter what you're finishing, this technique can be used on other things, not just gun stocks. Now I'll make another short one once I get this filled, and then I'll show you the finishing technique that we use here to get this to a final polish that we want. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. God bless.